Hello dear cooking friends, today we are going to be talking about wheat and flour and what they're used for. As you know, the types of wheat that we use nowadays, which is called farro, the one in this jar, is like wheat but a little bit coarser and a little bit bigger than a grain of wheat. And this wheat was found by the Romans in Egypt. The Egyptians were cultivating it along the river Nile, and when the Romans invaded Egypt, they found that they liked this kind of wheat, which grew very well, and they liked the type of soft bread that the Egyptians were making, because the Romans did not know until then the use of yeast, natural yeast, because that's all they had in those days. So the Romans found that this wheat grew plentiful and easily, so they planted it all over the Roman Empire. And this is why in the Roman Empire, which is like around the Mediterranean region, the bread is the main staple for most populations. From this type of wheat, they developed two different types of wheat. A soft wheat, which is used to make bread, cakes, pizza, focaccia, croissants, etc. And one hard wheat, which is used to make the fresh pasta, but also bread, and in particular dried commercial pasta. With soft wheat, they make what is called as all-purpose flour or plain flour. In Italy we call it double zero. Double zero means double ground. The two zeros represent the two wheels of the flour mill. So double ground means it's very fine. And so this flour is great for making bread, cakes, pizza and focaccia. But for making fresh pasta you need also eggs, because it does not have enough protein to stay together just with water. So to make pasta with this kind of flour, for each 100 grams of flour you need one medium-sized egg. That would mean a quarter pound, just under a quarter pound of flour, one medium-sized egg. Then there is also the Manitoba flour or high gluten flour. This flour has high protein content, between 10 and 12%, and it's also known as strong flour. And this flour is used to make really fluffy cakes and breads. Breads like, for example, toast bread, which is very fluffy and with lots of little bubbles, and but also croissants and cakes and brioche and muffins and also donuts is made with this. Because this flour is also a little bit expensive, it's often used in addition to the plain or all-purpose flour, or in Italy we call it double zero flour. They add 20 to 30% to this plain flour to make a stronger cake, a fluffier cake, a better focaccia, a better bread, and so on and so forth. So we call it Manitoba because it mostly comes from the Manitoba province of Canada, but everybody else knows it as high gluten flour or strong flour. Here we have semolina flour or durum wheat flour. Durum from Latin, hard wheat. With durum wheat flour we make two types of flour, fine ground and coarse ground. So with the coarse ground flour we make bread, with the, start again, cut. Now we're going to be talking about the semolina flour. Semolina flour is made with hard wheat. Hard wheat, also known as durum wheat. So durum wheat flour, or also known as semolina flour. This kind of flour has a high protein content, has about 10 to 12%, and has the property of not needing eggs when you make pasta to stay together. So this kind of flour is used to make commercial pasta like spaghetti or penne or farfalle, and it's just kneaded with water and flour, and it stays together when you cook it without falling apart, whereas with regular plain flour you need eggs. So with the coarse ground flour we make dried or also fresh pasta. This is mostly used in the south of Italy. With the soft wheat, with the fine ground semolina flour, we make breads. In southern Italy they like to make bread with semolina flour. It's very, very tasty and very soft. You can also make a good bread by mixing all-purpose flour and finely ground semolina flour. It makes a lovely tasting bread. And so this is very much used in the commercial pasta making, like Barilla, De Cecco, and Garofalo, all these famous pasta makers. And there is, of course, different varieties of this durum wheat. Some are better and some are not as great. And for example, Barilla makes a great pasta, but I prefer De Cecco. And my favorite pasta is Garofalo, which is a very firm pasta. When you cook it, it doesn't get too soft. With the pasta, of course, we use tomatoes, and tomato sauce is one of the main ingredients for making a pasta dish. With semolina flour, we make many types of pasta, more than I can mention. And we can start from some fresh fettuccine, which are over here, some fusilli, spaghetti, penne, farfalle, also known as bow tie pasta, but we call it farfalle, which means butterflies. These are pici. Pici are a specialty of Siena, and they are made also with semolina flour and water, but mostly by hand. And of course, Barilla. Barilla is an excellent pasta, good quality pasta, but not the top, because they are the biggest producers of pasta in the world, and they cannot just find only the best flour. My favorite pasta is Garofalo, as they use a really good high quality semolina flour, and the pasta is nice and firm. We also have other pastas, just fusilli, for example. I remember the fusilli episode in Seinfeld, if any of you ever watched that program. And of course, some tomatoes to make a delicious sauce. As you all know, tomatoes came from the Americas, and without the Americas there would be no Italian cuisine, because the Italian cuisine as we know it today is mostly based on fresh tomato, but also on corn and potatoes to make gnocchi. So, we now know everything we need to know about the different types of flour, semolina, and we have the Manitoba or high gluten flour, and the 00 flour, also known as all-purpose flour. And here we can see the farro. Beautiful plant. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this little lesson about flour, and we'll move on to the next subject. Thank you. Dear cooking friends, Italy is not only known for pasta, but also for rice, for risotto. Nowadays, Italy is the largest producer of rice in the European Union. We produce more than 50% of all the rice grown in the European Union. The other two countries are Spain and France, but we are the biggest of all. Rice was introduced in Italy as a plantation in 1590, but it was known for many centuries before that. The Venetians used to import rice from the Arabs, who would import it themselves from Asia, and it was a luxury item. But in 1590, in an area near Turin, quite close to the Po River, this is between two towns called Vercelli and Novara, they used to have a problem growing wheat because the ground was too soggy, being that it was so close to the river. The River Po is our largest river. And some monks who were passing through the area and who had been as missionaries in Asia, they were talking to the farmers and they found out about this problem with the wheat. And they said, well, it's nice and flat here, there's lots of water, maybe we can try to grow rice. The first rice they tried was either basmati or jasmine rice, because these two types of rice are very popular in Asia. But this rice did not do well because it needs a tropical climate. So they switched then to a Japanese variety or Japanese varietals. In Japan they have a temperate climate just like in Italy or in Europe, so their rice is adapted to their climate. But because they use it for sushi, their rice is starchy because it needs to be a little sticky. So one of the first that they had success with was this one called Originario or Original, and it's a tiny rice, a little translucent but starchy, and it's great for making a risotto. In Spain this is called bomba rice and arroz bomba, because bomba meaning round, and they use it for paella. But this is can be used also for risotto. I'm sure you can make a decent sushi with it. Over the centuries, we developed our own hybrids of rice, and in Italy we use it mostly for risotto, which means it's a dish with the ingredients cooked in with the rice. So it's not used like in Asia, where they use it as a side dish, the white rice with the meat or vegetable sauce or with sauce on the side. So we cook everything together. It's called risotto, and it has to be starchy, so it's nice and creamy. So the most popular rice for risotto is arborio. Arborio is a nice starchy rice. It's a plump variety of rice, nice and white. That means it has a lot of starch in it. So this is a great rice for making risotto, but a few decades ago they invented a new variety called carnaroli. And this is available in a lot of supermarkets nowadays. It's not too difficult to find. But arborio is very popular. So carnaroli rice is a better rice because it's more starchy. We can tell by the color because it's more white. It's also a little bit smaller and cooks better. So being smaller also you need more grains of rice per weight. So you have more surface area and there is more starch coming off the rice to make a good risotto. A good risotto should be nice and creamy without needing to add flour or any thickener of any sort, especially not cream. Okay, a lot of people put cream thinking they make a good risotto, but you don't need the cream if you use a good rice. So one of the popular ingredients with rice is of course saffron to make a risotto alla milanese, but I also make risotto with saffron, shrimp and arugula, which is one way of preparing it. We will be showing in the next segment also how to make risotto. So I hope you enjoyed this class today, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you very much and buon appetito!